Welcome back. In today's video, we will discuss what you can do to do significantly better during the knockout stages of the Vis Moot. My name is Harold Zippel. I'm the author of the book Mooting to Win, the most recent book on moot court competitions. I've participated in well over 100 moot court competition matches, and I'm here today to help you do much better at the 2020 Vis Moot. If you listen to this video, your takeaway will be that you will perform significantly better during the knockout stages of the Vis Moot, because the tips that I'm sharing now are those tips that really matter for the final rounds. Let's get the basics straight. If you have made it to the round of the last 64, it means that there is no bad team anymore. I'm not saying that there were many bad teams before, but there is a difference in quality. By the time you reach the knockout stages, arguably this does not exist anymore. There's only really good teams. So what does this mean for you and for your pleadings? Above all, and this is probably counterintuitive, but please follow this advice, trust in your own arguments. Do not make the mistake of trying to adapt too much depending on who your opponent is. You've gone this far. You've made it to the knockout stages, beyond the group stages, because of your arguments, not because you adapted every single time. So do trust in your arguments. Where I believe you should adjust, however, is the way you make your arguments. So bear in mind, this is not change the arguments, just change the way you make them. Why is that? The further you advance in the Vis Moot, the more likely you are to come across a very important person, a very important arbitration practitioner. It's just, as we say, a student competition, but believe it or not, it has become very prestigious, and there are many people who want to sit in the knockout stages. And the organizers find it not even so easy to fill all places with, so to say, VIPs of arbitration, because there are not so many seats for the matches. So what does this mean for you and for your preparation and for your pleadings in particular? If you come across a tribunal composed of arbitrators who are VIPs, on average, they will have very little time. On average, they will not really prepare that much prior to your match. On average, they will go with a printout to the match and they will listen to the arguments, but they haven't really looked much into the case. So if you make a very technical, a very complex argument, you will lose those guys and gals, of course. Sorry, that's just a way of saying it. You lose them because it's too complicated for them. You cannot make a very complex, a very technical argument if you have simply not the access to the full knowledge of facts. If you're hearing this for the first time, it does not work. You will not convince these guys. It's funny, some people, even on LinkedIn, they brag about it. I mean, brag. They post a LinkedIn, post on LinkedIn, and they say, I'm now just heading into my first match. I just printed out my brief, meaning they have not looked into it before. So they don't even mind admitting it. It's not really fair. And as an anecdote, several years ago during the Vis Moot, I once had Austrian schnapps in the Hilton Hotel at the Ring, together with Professor Martin Hunter, the Hunter, as we know him, one of the true VIPs, and he's the complete opposite. He complained that night to me that a lot of arbitrators do not prepare well, and he said, we owe it to these guys. I could not emphasize more, so a big shout out to Professor Hunter at this point. I could not agree more to what he says, but the reality is that that's not really what happens. So do not make the arguments too technical. If you realize that an arbitral tribunal is very receptive to technical arguments and to complex arguments, you can adjust, and you have to adjust. The rule number one of the book Mooting to Win is adapt or die. And that's simply true. And it applies to real life as well. You cannot plead your case if you are not able to adjust. But on average, of course, what I say will be true. The argument you make must be simple. Not really easy and idiotic, but simple. Don't make it too technical. Since on average, you are dealing with more important people, keep in mind that your demeanor, how you act, is even more important than in prior matches. In our book, Mooting to Win, one of the rules we have to impress your judges, it's chapter 18, is be Cinderella or Prince Charming. Now, this of course is in a joking way. You should not be Cinderella or Prince Charming, literally, but what we mean is that you should embrace the tribunal even more than you do in earlier matches, and you should be polite. Don't overdo it, because even though that is the arbitral tribunal, you should not regard them as gods. And above all, you should not address them at the Vis Moot with Your Excellency, as some people wrongly do. But do keep in mind that the more important the person you are dealing with, the more polite on average you should be. But what's really important also is do not let them intimidate you. It's important that you stand your ground, especially when you're dealing with very important people, because some of them may attack you and they may very well expect you to stand your ground. So do not let yourself, be shied away by any harsh response from the arbitral tribunal. Do stand your ground. If you have a sufficient number of members on your team, so that you not only have those who plead, but also have people who can do research, I strongly recommend that you do some research on your arbitrators. This applies in general, but it applies even more so in the knockout matches. Why is that? It's simple, because the arbitrators get more and more important, as I mentioned before. If you do research on the knockout stages arbitrators, you will, on average, find a lot more material on them, and you will, on average, find a lot more that you can use to impress them. It's very likely that those important people have published an article somewhere, or maybe even you're lucky and find an award where they have set forth a principle or a rule that you can use directly in your arguments. If you do not have enough time to research them, at a minimum, make sure that you do not cite any of the people there without getting the name 100% right. Dale Carnegie says a person's name is to that person the most beautiful sound in any language, and that's true. I once had the opportunity to sit with a very senior arbitrator, and the counsel for claimant back then got the name of the arbitrator wrong. It was a disaster, because this person, not mentioning any names here, this arbitrator got really upset. So make sure that you know your case law and you know how to pronounce the names. Do not cite any case if any of the arbitrators who are sitting as judges are there and you make the mistake of getting the name wrong. That's really bad. There's a lot more I could say at this point, and above all, there's a lot more in the book Mooting to Win, but I will not say anything else. This is for two reasons. First of all, my kids are waiting for me. I've left them alone all day and I need to go back and play with them. Two, and this is on a more serious note, I don't want you to now spend your time worrying about what you can do, what you should do for the knockout stages. What's more important than ever is that you take a rest and relax so that you are refreshed for your next match when it really matters. If you like this video, please visually like it by giving it a like on YouTube. Also, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot more stuff for you. In particular, starting from tomorrow, 9 April 2020, we will be launching a career guide in dispute resolution, especially international dispute resolution. And if you are subscribed to our channel, you will learn numerous tips on what you can do to build on your experience from a moot court competition and start a career in international dispute resolution. Finally, if you have any comments, any experience you want to share, or any tips, please do so in the comment section when you're watching this on YouTube. There are many people who want to learn from you, and what I say can always be just a small part of everything that's out there. There is a lot more, so please share your knowledge, please share your advice so that everyone else can benefit. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow with our next video.